Hey you guys, it's Diane, and tonight I am going to share with you a little bit about intermittent fasting and why it is that I started intermittent fasting and why I will no longer diet. So my name is Diane. Welcome to my broadcast this evening. I am going to try to make this short and sweet and just give you some information about intermittent fasting and why it is that I've chosen to do it and how it is I think it might be able to help you. So I have been helping women find nutrition plans and fitness programs to help them look and feel their best and to live a lifestyle that they want to live within the means of their nutrition and their fitness plans. And about a couple years ago, I really started having some issues with what I was sharing with other women and how I was trying to help them, because what I had been doing for the past 20 years myself suddenly stopped working. And so I needed to find a new way of living my own lifestyle so I could do, in fact, what it was I was trying to help other women do, and that was live their best life through finding a balanced nutrition plan and fitness program that helped them do that. And so I started researching intermittent fasting, and it has been kind of a buzz sort of theme around the health and fitness world. And if you're into any kind of health and fitness or following people in the health and fitness industry, you've probably seen them talk about intermittent fasting and bulletproof coffee and some of the tricks and some of the techniques people are using to intermittent fast. And that's what sort of drew me to it in the beginning. And then when I was doing my research, what I found was that I was kind of tripping upon these 20 and 30-year-old like bodybuilder type of people who were using intermittent fasting to sort of shred down their bodies for their competitive fields, whether it be fitness competitions or bodybuilding competitions. And the lifestyle that I saw them living wasn't something that I could necessarily identify with, because I obviously wasn't in my 20s and 30s anymore. And I felt like in order to adapt intermittent fasting the way they were doing it, I would have to take a step back in my own nutrition philosophies, and I wasn't really willing to do that. So I kept researching, and within that time frame that I was researching intermittent fasting to try to figure out how I could find something that would get me back to the place that I wanted to be, I had been diagnosed as a pre-diabetic, and I was noticing some symptoms that were eerily reminiscent of some thyroid problems. And being in my late 40s, I kind of knew that that was the time of my life that those sort of issues started creeping up on women. And a lot of my girlfriends and a lot of the women I was trying to help were also having those same issues. And so I kept doing my research and finally got deep enough into the research of intermittent fasting where I started finding doctors who were talking about intermittent fasting and some of the science that was actually backing up why intermittent fasting was such a great lifestyle to live. And once I realized that intermittent fasting wasn't necessarily a diet, but it was actually a lifestyle that you could live for the long term, is when I really started getting interested in what intermittent fasting could do for me. And what I realized was that diets work for a very short period of time. I had been dieting my whole youth. So through my 20s, through my 30s, and even into my early 40s, those quick fix diet programs definitely worked for me. But what I was finding, and what most people find with dieting, is that, hey Stephanie, how are you, girl? Is that they work in the short term. So if I start a diet program and I implement some positive changes that coincide with that diet, so I start to eat clean, maybe I'm counting my calories or I'm controlling portions and I'm eating my 6 meals a day every 2 hours, and I've changed some things up from what I was doing that I wasn't happy with, of course I'm going to get some change and I'm going to get some positive changes. But what happens when you run the course of that diet plan? Most people, the women that I'm working with and myself included, were hitting a plateau, and they were getting really frustrated because what they had been doing for that given time frame that they were dieting suddenly stopped working for them. And that's basically how diets are designed, and that's how our bodies are designed to handle diets. In the short term, we get a really great result. but we have a very smart body, and our body is designed to reset our metabolic rate to whatever calorie input we're setting it at. So for the longest time, I was living on a 12 to 1400 calorie plan, and so my body's metabolism actually slowed down to that calorie intake. So I actually stopped having the ability to burn body fat, along with aging, which obviously slows down our metabolism. And then the sudden change in my own hormones as a woman caused me to become insulin resistant. And basically what that means is that my body, eating every 2 hours very small meals, was always in an insulin increasing mode, meaning that my body was constantly increasing or producing insulin, and I wasn't allowing it an opportunity to burn it off because I was constantly feeding my body. Insulin levels were spiking, which is another reason why I had the pre-diabetic situation that I was in, another reason why my thyroid was starting to fail on me. And so when I started studying the hormonal reasons why intermittent fasting works, it made complete sense for women in that 40 to 50 age group, or women who are finding it difficult to diet and actually lose weight. And the philosophy or the science behind intermittent fasting is that you take a period of time in your day and you don't eat food. And what happens during that time that you're not eating food is your insulin levels naturally drop, your growth hormones increase, which is what we need to stay young and to keep lean body mass on our bodies. And what happens is we start to tap into our fat stores for energy. So no longer are we constantly feeding this false energy to our bodies through this insulin production, but our bodies actually have to go in and find that stored fat and start to burn it for energy. Once my body got in this mode, it was amazing what was happening for me. I no longer had to diet. I no longer had to count calories. I no longer had to portion out my food, and I could pretty much follow any eating philosophy that I chose. So I could be paleo, I could be gluten-free, I can eat carbs, I can not eat carbs, I can increase my fat, I can decrease my fat. Anything that I wanted to do, as long as I put my body in a fasted state for a given period of time and allow those insulin stores to burn off and my body to tap into fat, I now became a fat burning machine. And within this time frame of intermittent fasting, not only was I able to bring my blood sugar levels back down to a normal state, so I'm no longer considered pre-diabetic, but I've also reset my thyroid. So as a 50-year-old woman, I have a normal functioning thyroid, which is not a very common thing for women in their 50s. And I've noticed a decrease in my body fat without dieting. And so once you really understand what the science behind intermittent fasting is and what it can do for our bodies, it really does become a fascinating way of living your life. Michael and I have both started incorporating intermittent fasting, and the changes that we've seen not only in our physique, but our energy levels has been amazing. We're sleeping better at night. I, as a 50-year-old woman, no longer have insomnia issues. I'm not having any kind of night sweat issues. I'm not having any kind of hot flash issues. Everything for me hormonally has completely balanced out. But I couldn't have gotten to this point had I not taken the time to really understand the science behind intermittent fasting and why it is your body is doing what it's doing. There is a learning curve to intermittent fasting, and a lot of people don't get to that point where they really understand what their body's doing in that fasted state to appreciate what you're going through hormonally. Now, if you've watched some of my Facebook Lives, or if you want to go back into my video section here on my page, you can see that I did a series on why am I hungry and the hunger hormones. And that's a little bit of a precursor to what intermittent fasting is, because the reality is you're going to be hungry when you're fasting. That's the whole point of putting your body in an intermittent fasting state. But the nice thing about intermittent fasting is that intermittent word, in the fact that you can kind of go in and out of a fasting protocol or a fasting state, and you're not failing at anything. So everything that you do intermittent fasting wise is all based on you and the lifestyle you're choosing to live with your intermittent fasting. There's no diet protocol necessarily that you have to follow. So you take away the guilt, you take away the shame, and you take away that failure feeling that most of us have with dieting. So for instance, Michael and I pick 2 days a week, and it's usually Monday and Tuesday, that we have a very long fasting period. We fast for 20 hours and then we eat for 4. Wednesdays are a really busy day for us, and so we kind of loosen the ties up a little bit, and our fasting window is a lot shorter and our eating window is a lot larger. Then Thursday, Friday, we kind of go back to a long fasting period, and then Saturdays and Sundays, we don't fast at all. And we're still able to maintain a very low body fat and a very high energy level. And that's the great thing about intermittent fasting. You basically designed your fast around your lifestyle. No longer do you have to change your lifestyle to accommodate a diet. And what I have found for myself personally is that I can't follow diet regimens that are designed by someone else for themselves. I have to now live a lifestyle that suits me and my needs as a 50-year-old woman. And so I have been able to really develop this intermittent fasting protocol that works for us women who are going through these changing hormones and are frustrated with why it is that we're putting on this body fat. And we all put on hormonal body fat. It's just the way our bodies are designed to operate when we live that lifestyle of that increased and peaked out insulin, or if we're in a state of insulin resistance. But the good news is we can reverse all of that. We can get rid of insulin resistance, and we can actually create a body that is a fat burning machine just by not eating for a certain period of time. Now, I know that word fasting seems a little scary to some of us because the first thing we think is that we're going to starve to death or that we're going to be really tired. And I can tell you, after about day 2, your body does level out. Day 2 is when that hormone that I discussed a few weeks ago called ghrelin actually hits its peak point, and then it balances out and actually starts to work for you. After about day 2, your body levels out and it starts to adjust to being in that fasted state, and actually will tap into that 40 days of stored fat that we all walk around with. Now imagine being able to tap into that body fat that has been stubbornly stuck on your body. And trust me, I know, I've been there. For the last 2 years, I have been completely frustrated and ready to just throw in the towel on this whole healthy lifestyle thing, because no matter what I did, I was failing at it. But this last year, since studying intermittent fasting and really understanding the science behind it and how we can actually turn our hormones around and actually get them to start working for us so that we can get the body that we want no matter what age we're at, has really been a fascinating experience for me. And I would love to share my experience with you. So here on my Facebook page and on my YouTube channel, I am going to start sharing some of the science behind intermittent fasting and how it can help us women, regardless of what age we are, really get rid of that stubborn hormonal fat and ease up our life in regards to dieting. I can tell you, in our house, we are saving a ton of money and a ton of time. We no longer meal prep. We no longer have a house that is loaded up with food. Michael and I generally have about 2 meals a day, sometimes 3. And we don't even cook food anymore. Like, we just have whatever's available at that moment. So we're not constantly meal prepping. We're not constantly in the refrigerator trying to figure out what we're going to eat. It's a very simple lifestyle. We have no foods that are off limits to us, except the foods that no longer make us feel our best. So this is truly the end of dieting, and a way of creating a lifestyle around food, around social activities, and around what you desire for your life. If you would like a little bit more information or would like to join me for one of my intermittent fasting groups, definitely feel free to either private message me, or you can drop me your email address below in the comment section, and I will reach out to you and give you some information about the group that I'll be starting here in March. It'll be a complete 30-day group where I slowly ease you into intermittent fasting, and by the end of 30 days, you will be an intermittent fasting pro and a fat burning machine. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, you guys. I hope this excited you about intermittent fasting and helped ease some of your concerns that you might have about intermittent fasting. I know there's so much information out there, and a lot of it can be very misleading. What I would love to leave you with is this. It is not a scary thing to intermittent fast. It is something that you can design for you and the lifestyle that you want to live around the food that you love to live with. It can be that thing that can reverse insulin resistance. It can help get your thyroid back to normal levels. It can help you turn it into a fat burning machine, and it can help you once again enjoy your life around food. Again, if you would like to join me, definitely feel free to leave your email address below. Share this broadcast with any of your girlfriends who you know are frustrated with what they're currently doing with their diets, their nutritional plan, or what it is that they're not able to do with their fitness and getting their body back the way they like. Again, thank you so much for joining me, you guys, tonight. I will be broadcasting again tomorrow night at 9 p.m. with another little bit of information about what intermittent fasting can do for you. Thanks for joining me.